In this lesson, we're going to be discussing keyword harvesting, or some call it keyword graduation. We'll be going through what it is, how to do it, what to do, why it's important, and also give you a couple different scenarios and ways to do it, depending on the different tools that you have available to you. So let's break it down. Keyword harvesting at its most basic level is the process of identifying and extracting high-performing search terms from your research campaigns, then adding those keywords to your manual targeting campaigns so that you can more specifically target and expand upon those terms using those different match types that we talked about in the previous lesson. Keyword harvesting is just one of the methods for doing keyword research. Only this form of keyword research gives us product-specific data on specific search terms. We're discovering rather than just guessing, like most keyword research methods do. And that discovery process is what we call keyword harvesting or keyword graduation. We're graduating the search term up to more refined, specific targeting. So why would you do keyword harvesting at all? Why not just set up auto campaigns for all your products and let Amazon decide where to place your ads? Or why not just use Helium-10 and find all the keywords that are related to your product and just add those to your campaigns? Well, for one, in the beginning, it can be tough to know what exact keywords to target or where you're going to get the best results for your product. Some third-party tools like Helium-10 help you narrow your search and find the most common searches and keywords, but at a certain level, they fall short. They don't have the capacity to tell you which keywords are going to perform well or have the highest conversion rates for your product. They also don't account for all the one-off searches that happen on Amazon all the time, that when you add all of them up, can make a really big difference to your bottom line. The only tool where you'd be able to see your search term specific product data without ever having to run any ads is in the Search Query Performance Report. However, this is only available in Seller Central Brand Analytics, not Vendor Central. But the Search Query Performance Report is super powerful because you're getting first-party data on things like search volume or your product's click share on a particular term. This would be much more specific to the product and would likely yield better results for you than just using something like Helium-10. Don't get me wrong. I think Helium-10 is a great tool and it gives you a really good start in most cases. But in order to really know what we should be targeting, it's best to test and see through real-time data for our products. One of the downsides to exclusively keeping all of your spend in auto campaigns is that you have very little control with where Amazon decides to place your product. You don't have the ability to set bids at the keyword level. You're setting one bid and bidding the same across a wide variety of search terms. Auto campaigns also continually put your ads on keywords that aren't strong converters. And without negating non-performers, you can waste a lot of ad spend. The goal of keyword harvesting is to get more fine-tuned, to graduate your performing and converting terms to places where you have more and more control over them so that you can more easily dictate the performance. If you just leave terms in your auto campaigns without harvesting them into manual campaigns, you're leaving money on the table by not having that ability to make bid changes at the keyword level so that you can maximize visibility and sales on a term or cut back the spend if you're spending too much. If you tried to maximize sales on a keyword in an auto campaign, your one bid change could spike your ACoS because that bid change didn't just increase on the one intended target, it increased across all possible targets within that targeting segment. And this can open up a whole bunch of additional placements for you to spend on. This could be a good thing. Maybe you find more competitive terms you weren't eligible for before with that lower bid. But you're also undoubtedly going to acquire some excess spend through this method. You want to be able to set your bid at the keyword level because that way, for searches that you convert really well on, you can set bids more aggressively because your confidence of a conversion is much higher. In terms where you maybe don't convert as well, you can set those bids a little lower. We'll get into exactly how we calculate bids in a later lesson. Steven's going to dive deep on that. But for now, just understanding that distinction is key. Auto campaigns give you reach and allow you to research for terms and targets you wouldn't think to add to your campaigns. It helps you find things you wouldn't think of. Manual campaigns give you that fine-tuned focusability where you can take your product and place it on this keyword or keywords that are like this keyword. Keyword harvesting is an important practice in scaling your ad campaigns because it helps you continually reach new customers across different search queries and capture more sales. It allows you to become more efficient and more in control of how you want to deploy your ad dollars. For example, let's say you sell tennis rackets. Been going back to that example. And you know the term tennis racket is a high-performing keyword for you. But you also want to show your product when people search for tennis gear. Your product's performance on tennis racket is probably going to be better than the more broad search that is less related to your product, something like tennis gear. That's much more broad, not as specific to a tennis racket. Now, while tennis gear is certainly related to your product, the search is rather ambiguous, which usually means it's a lower conversion term or more of a browsy term is what we call it, where people are just shopping around, not looking for anything in particular, just looking for ideas. But let's say you're more focused on awareness and you want to get your product out there to a wider audience. Having these keywords in your manual targeting campaign would allow you to set the bids differently. Whereas an auto campaign, you would be bidding the same on both terms, or potentially not even showing up for those queries because maybe Amazon's algorithm doesn't as closely associate your product with tennis gear, but it knows you're selling tennis rackets, so it only places you on tennis racket related terms or tennis racket specific terms. And you have no lever to pull without spiking your bids everywhere else. When you've tried to increase the bids on this auto campaign to win placements on tennis gear, your campaign quickly becomes unprofitable, showing up on significantly more irrelevant searches. With auto campaigns, the only lever we have to pull is the bids. But as we mentioned, that one bid change has a much more dramatic effect than you might think. You see how it might be useful to have a deeper level of control over your bids, placements, and targets? With manual campaigns, we can pull the bid lever on a specific keyword for a specific product, as opposed to just a blanket bid across a wide selection of search terms. With more bid control, we are better able to dictate performance and hit our target KPIs. We have a much more reliable way to steer performance and try to maximize sales without sacrificing our margins. Normally, this process goes something like this. You are advertising your product in an auto campaign or a broad or phrase match manual campaign, and you start seeing some sales come in. You have your campaign structured with single product ad groups, so you're able to go into that campaign, into that ad group, and see the search terms where that specific product is converting. You pull your search term report to see where exactly your product is converting at or below your target ACoS, and then take your converting terms and put them into a manual targeting campaign where you can set those bids individually for that specific term. So this process of finding converting terms and extracting them to more and more further and further specificity, that is essentially what we're trying to do in Amazon. Depending on what cycle you're in, you may be in more of a research phase where you're pushing more spend to auto campaigns or broader match types, where you're trying to figure out what keyword you should be targeting or what keywords you should be targeting. Or you may already be in a good place here, but the goal is to get more and more of your spend shifted over to manual control, because that way we can make more targeted optimizations that move the needle closer to our goal. With more specificity, we gain more confidence in the moves that we make. Now that you know what keyword harvesting is, you need to know some of the reasons, criteria, ways to do it, and all the potential nuance that can come with harvesting search term. So let's hop over to the whiteboard, go through some different keyword research techniques, and we'll break down the process of keyword harvesting in depth. Let's jump in.